Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Four Quarter Talk podcast with myself, Jack Brazil, and my co-host, Josh Mazoke. Say what's up.
What's up?
Didn't have my sip of water before the podcast.
Hey, man. Hey, we back-to-back months of 5 episodes. We want to do even better than that.
Yeah.
But we're here. Consistency's still up.
We're on a jazz-like streak right now. But let's get straight into the episode. And Josh, we got to talk about New York Knicks. And in a positive light, for once, surprisingly, the Knicks have been doo-doo for as long as I've been watching basketball. Pretty much for their whole existence, the Knicks have been very average. But they're back to 500, and that's
average is nice.
Yeah, that's something that's big for the Knicks, being at 500, 18-18 currently on the season, sitting on the league's best defense. Josh, what has impressed you about this Knicks team, and where do you see the change, and how have they changed?
Yeah, so one of our first episodes of this new year, we talked about, we did our NBA stock episode where we talked about whether we're buying stock on different teams. We both said in the short term that we were selling on the Knicks, but I did say at the end that this was the start of them being respectable, and it's definitely shown, because they're absolutely it's not the fact that the thing that's impressive is that they had their little tear at the start where I think they were 5-3 through 8 games, sitting at 5th, and they weren't even relying on the same players that they're now relying on now. So it's kind of like everyone just keeps stepping up.
Yeah.
And it's just clear that it's the culture that's changed, hiring Coach Thibodeau has been huge for them, they've got the best defense in the league in pretty much every advanced category, whether it be points allowed, whether it be, just field goals, everything. The defense is there, and that's something that's very common with Thibodeau coach teams. So,
yeah. And
this culture could take them to, they have the potential to be one of those teams that superstars now do look at as they were the embarrassment of the league for several years, and people think, it's New York City, which is sometimes sees as the center of the universe in terms of attention, but they can't get any big time players. But now they're in that, Brooklyn Nets, Clippers, territory that they were, or maybe even the Lakers a couple of years ago, where they have that young team that fights every game, and a superstar looks at and thinks, I can go there to be that piece that they need.
Yeah, I think a big part of this is something you alluded to with different players stepping up, and it's often said with Tom Thibodeau's style of coaching, he's very hands-on, and he expects the best out of his players. And there's two ways they can react to that, and they can either hide or they can step up to the challenge. And it looks like all these New York Knicks so far have been stepping up. I mean, RJ Barrett's having a good season, although he's quite a streaky player, but he's having a good second year. Obviously, Julius Randle was an all-star, but then they've got role players like Reggie Bullock, Nerlens Noel, who have been nobodies in this league, but are now contributing to winning basketball, which tells you how they've reacted to that system. And I think getting Derrick Rose on this roster was a genius move as well, because you've got, young point guards like Emmanuel Quickley, and Elfrid Payton's not young, but you could say he's inexperienced with winning. And Derrick Rose will come in and be a perfect mentor for them. Not only that, but he will also contribute to wins as well, as he has throughout Tom Thibodeau's whole coaching career. There's a stat here: Tom Thibodeau's winning percentage with Derrick Rose on his team is 63%, where it falls to 46% without Rose. So Tom Thibodeau always has those favourites players that he loves to bring into any team he coaches. You saw that with Taj Gibson. I'm surprised he didn't give Joakim Noah a call. Obviously, after
you're still on their payroll, so might as well.
Yeah, we just found out news that Joakim Noah is effectively retired, but if the Knicks, if Nerlens Noel goes down or Julius Randle goes down, maybe he'll get the call. But this is a very different Knicks team. They're not really fun to watch, I wouldn't say, but they're very grit and grind, and that's what you expect from a Tom Thibodeau team.
Yeah, New York really does. I feel bad for dedicated New York fans who, consistently have filled up Madison Square Garden over the years of, teams that gave them 18-game losing streaks. And now that they're, they really embody the city of New York now with the way they play. and there's minimal fans there. But now I do have to give a lot of credit to the front office. They were clowned heavily for the master plan that they had of acquiring of tanking for Zion and then acquiring KD and Kyrie, but they didn't feel sorry for themselves. They quickly pivoted and put themselves in a position, taking stock in Julius Randle, who at the time definitely showed promise, but wasn't seen as that star, that young
guy that
up
could
and
lead
coming
a
star.
franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, and that first season was kind of rough. There were, that was a legendary, four power forward lineup season where Randall was handling the ball and it looked kind of ugly at the time, and everyone was like, you got point guard Randall over here, and now that's looking very good because he's putting up 23, 11, and 6 assists, showing that playmaking is legit, and he's shooting. The biggest thing is that he's shooting over 40% from three, and he's really earned his All-Star. I had him as an All-Star on my ballot, and he's definitely earned it.
Yeah, I think when Julius Randle came into the league, I'm sure this is his 7th year in the league, and when he came in, the role of the big man was very different to what it is now, and I think he's followed those trends throughout his career. With the Lakers, he was kind of more of a guy that's gonna seem to get you rebounds and more of a traditional role, what you'd expect. But now he's adapting with the times, and those 6 assists, it's typical of what you can. It's not surprising anymore for a center or a big man to average 6 assists.
The playmaking from the center position has been insane.
It's really evolving season on season, and we're seeing the antithesis of that this year with players like Domantas Sabonis and obviously Nikola Jokić, who's averaging
even more so than shooting.
Yeah, and then also the shooting, which was a bit of an older trend, but he's really improving that part of his game, and it's kind of what you need to be a dominant big man in this league now. You need that outside shot to be really dominant. Dominant. Fuck, why does my voice keep breaking? Yeah, but he's really like turned into that modern day big man, and that's not what we saw from the early years of his career. There was always the talent there, no doubt, but when you're having your career leap in your 7th season, it's not expected. It's not really seen too often to have it so late in your career. So props to Julius Randle for stepping up his game. And they've got something. It's still a young roster as well, so they could continue this form into the next 3 or 4 seasons and keep building on this and maybe become actually a major contender at the top of the East, which they haven't been for ages.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, they reached a winning record for the first time since 2013, in terms of like through 35 games through that point of the season. So yeah, that's insane. And as I said, they're first in points allowed, second in defensive efficiency overall. One thing I think I've alluded to in a couple episodes already, but that Porzingis trade is looking better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Because obviously Porzingis' future is in doubt with the Dallas Mavericks, and now the Knicks have a very similar record to the Mavs, who I think just reached 500 themselves.
Yeah, especially now that they've turned Dennis Smith Jr. into Derrick Rose.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a player who's like has been really good since he's come to the Knicks, and I think the Knicks have looked a much better team since he's come in, for sure. Do you think Spike Lee will be renewing his season ticket when everything opens up?
He would still be there if
no, but didn't he? He said he was.
Yeah, he got kicked out at some point or something.
And then he said he wasn't going to come to any more Knicks games while is his name Ethan Dolan?
James Dolan. James Dolan.
That's it. While James Dolan was the.
That's the thing that really surprised me the most, is that James Dolan's kind of distanced himself from getting involved in front office, and he's really like given them a chance to just.
Yeah.
I don't like the best type of owners are the ones that aren't overpowering in personnel and just fund the team and don't try to get in the way or think that they know too much about the actual basketball itself. So. Yeah, many Knicks fans. I mean, I went to New York a couple of years ago, and the amount of Ubers I was in or runs I was at where they were just constantly complaining about how, the product is trash. The owner need to get the owner out. He was quite petty. He kicked out one of their beloved, Charles Oakley, from the game. ejecting fans for holding up sell the team signs, but I mean, yeah, turn the page apparently. So for now, at least,
He's
it's
matured
looking
as an
great.
owner. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Give me like an insight. Obviously, I've never been to New York, but it strikes me as a city that's really loyal to like its sports teams. Is it
Oh yes,
like that?
they are very loyal, and they care about, like, basketball is everything for them.
Yeah,
Because not even NBA, just basketball. Everywhere you go, you just see, they really care about it, and like it's it is the culture there. They've got a lot of blacktop courts and all of that, where they're out there playing, Rucker Park, and it's not really like, this is the type of team that would really represent them. Like those teams in the '90s that were gritty, um, and that's how they're winning right now. You know,
yeah. Winning with
Thibodeau is a
defense.
match made in heaven for them. They're really fighting. Like when we were talking about them early in the season, they'd come off impressive wins against the Nets. Um, I think it was someone else, another contender as well. But they just don't roll over and die. They stay in every game. If they lose a game, you have to beat them. They're not going to beat
Yeah,
themselves anymore. And that was something that, and we're going to talk about this again with the Suns, but the culture shift, I think teams are starting to value more, because I think the tanking culture kind of got out of hand, and teams have started to realize, and fans as well, that just getting the most talented players in the draft every year and sacrificing a winning culture ends up not working out very well, because you're seeing with the Bulls sometimes. I mean, they've made a couple moves now to move more towards that direction, but it's hard to tell a player that has been, when their organization's been good with winning, I mean, good with losing and even trying to lose, to tell them to care about, making that defensive rotation here and there and things like that. So it's hard to shake off sometimes.
yeah. I was thinking about, you said in a earlier podcast that the Bulls should move towards taking on more vets, and I agree to a certain extent, but I don't think that's always the answer with a team. Obviously, you got to find the right balance, as I think they have found
Yeah.
in New York. Because you saw with like the 14, 15, 16 Bulls, they just shoehorn Dwayne Wade in there, Rajon Rondo.
Yeah, I don't mean that. Yeah,
Yeah,
not that.
and we
Yeah.
we made the playoffs, but it was like we were getting embarrassed in first round. So I think
But
teams have to realize that
that was just the Bulls having one of the worst front offices, and
yeah,
hiring a coach that wants to go up and down and shoot threes, and then signing players that play at a
don't
slow
fit that.
pace
Yeah,
and can't shoot. So I'm thinking more of what the Suns did with Chris Paul. They've got a younger team, but then they got a player that will maximize the potential of what we'll talk about later, but Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker, and so they've got to complement your players, but then also,
yeah.
it's that
Well,
mix. It's that mix.
yeah, losing is definitely going out of trend 100%. I mean, you can see with a team like the Timberwolves, like just picking the consensus number one pick every year
Yeah.
doesn't get you anywhere. I think I saw a stat they've officially overtaken an NFL team as the team with the lowest winning percentage in American sports history, which is just such a poverty stat.
And their only successful season was that one season with Jimmy Butler,
Yeah,
where he missed one. They were like the third seed until he went down, and then they managed to slip all the way to like the
yeah,
eighth seed.
exactly.
So
And
yeah,
then ever
but
since then,
credit to Adam Silver for amending that draft rule to
yeah, for
make it,
sure.
because now that after teams like the Pelicans getting the first seed,
Yeah.
it kind of, no one really wants to tank anymore.
Yeah, it was funny to hear Ricky Rubio was saying, obviously he's part of the Timberwolves now. He was saying we're not building anything here, and that's definitely not what you want to hear if you're a Timberwolves fan.
Did he sign there, or was he traded there?
He was, I think he was.
Because
Ooh,
that's rough.
I'm
He
trying to
got
think.
he went through the pain of those years when he got drafted there,
Yeah,
and then he's stuck there again.
he's back, and like nothing's changed pretty much. Yeah, he's towards the end of his career, and nothing's changed.
Yeah,
I think Ricky Rubio is another player that could that would do well in a contender. I think there's
yeah.
quite a few players down there at the bottom of the league that could would be useful in a contender. But let's move towards a possible contender. Is it too early to call them this? Maybe, but the Phoenix Suns have been on a tear for the past month and a bit. Currently sitting at the second seed in the Western Conference off a very impressive win last night over the Los Angeles Lakers, where Devin Booker was actually ejected in the third quarter for a very confusing and very soft call. If you didn't see it, he got a first technical foul, and then 2 seconds later he throws the ball at the ref, but it's a bounce pass. I was assuming it looked like so the ref could get on with the game, but it was deemed a bit too aggressive. Maybe the pass was a bit too hot. The ref fumbled it a bit, got embarrassed, and tossed him out of the game. But the Suns were only up 6 at this point, and they managed to hold on for the victory. And I heard Jay Crowder was speaking to the media. He was saying this is a very encouraging sign for this team when you don't have to have Chris Paul or Devin Booker to bail you out of a win, and your guys step up. Your guys like Mikal Bridges step up and can get a win over a team like the Lakers. That's a big sign of improvement for the Suns team, Josh.
Yeah, just going back to the refs again, because this is the second time in the last week. JJ Redick was ejected for the same reason, bouncing the ball.
He put a bit of spin on it though, so a little bit different.
I mean, so it bounced to him. Maybe they need to start getting some ex-players onto this so they can catch. Or I don't know. I don't understand. It went straight to his hands as well. But anyway, they're just getting in the way of the game. It's bad calls, as bad as they are. It's human error. But these technicals, these quick, these short leashes that they're having, and especially last night, a national TV game with LeBron James, Devin Booker, Chris Paul. You don't want fans going leaving at the end of the night with the refs in their head. They're not part of the show. They don't need to get involved. Yeah, it's
and imagine fans are in the stands, right? They've paid to watch. So a little boy in LA. He's a Phoenix Suns fan, right? He circled that game on his calendar saying, "Oh, Devin Booker's coming into town. I really want to go watch him live." And he sees his favorite player get tossed in the third quarter for throwing the ball at ref.
Yeah, and in the last 5 years, I don't understand this shift that refs has made towards normally a player can do something crazy and get a tech,
yeah,
and then they'll get that first tech, and then they'll just give them 10 seconds to cool down. But now they're just they just give them 2 straight away for the same thing.
Yeah.
They just do it for the same thing. It's obviously if someone does something worth a tech, they're still gonna be in that heated moment for another couple seconds. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't understand it.
But let's move away from that.
Yeah, but let's move. Yeah, so
talk a bit more about the Suns, Josh. What's impressed you with this Suns team?
Yeah, like the Knicks. There's a few parallels to the Knicks here. The first being obviously they're back up. Then they're now second. They've got a second overall record in the league, 8-2 in their last 10. But they're another team that early in the season, I'm not sure if they were in our NBA Stock episode, but they were hot early in the season. And we thought maybe, that's them starting hot. And then they had their struggles in the middle.
Yeah.
But they've managed to find themselves back here. So it's far from a fluke or far from an aberration.
They found a lot of consistency.
So, and another parallel to the Knicks is the culture, the change there. Firstly, before I even mention any of the player acquisitions, big credit to James Jones, who's just been a winner his whole career as a player and now as a executive. He's famous for being alongside LeBron in all of his championships, and now he, as a front office executive, he's turned around the Suns because they've been seen as the Knicks of the West for a while now. A lot of Suns fans absolutely despise their owner. I think his name is Sava, and he's managed to turn around a team that many thought and would be right that will look to waste Devin Booker's career.
Yeah.
And since he's taken over, he's made a lot of changes. He's given Devin Booker talent that fits around him. They were notorious in earlier years for, even before Booker, they kept drafting and signing point guards and shooting guards, and they would just have it stacked up, with Bledsoe, with Brandon Knight. But now, they've made, especially this last offseason where they were able to build on the run that they had at the start of the bubble, and they added a player in CP3 who is just, any team that See, he's a team the Bulls could have gone after as well.
Yeah, for sure.
The player the Bulls could have gone after that just comes over and brings winning. He just brings a winning mindset. He doesn't care. You know, many people were like, "Why would you sign? Like, we want to see him in a contender. Why would he sign with the Suns?"
Yeah.
But he's just shown that he is a winning player, and he does things that, you know, obviously he averages 16 points per game, and many questioned why he's an all-star, but you can tell that he leads to wins.
Yeah, I think he's gonna this is gonna go down in his legacy. I think as well when it's all said and done, Chris Paul, that he was a player. Although he might not win a championship, he was a player that could go into any team and almost make them a playoff contender, like he did with OKC and like he's doing this season.
Yes.
Although this Suns team is a much more talented roster than what you guys had last year, and you can see that by where they are in the standings. Chris Paul brings that culture and brings that mentality into any team he goes into. I think that's a real talent. That's a rare breed of player, I think. And the crazy thing is, like, yeah, if you inserted LeBron into any team, he'd probably make them a playoff team as well. But you'd probably see that in the box score. With Chris Paul, he does a lot of those things that don't show up in the box score. Probably mentoring guys off the court, jumping for a loose ball at 34 years of age, putting his body on the line. So it's a different type of contribution that Chris Paul gives you, but it's as important nonetheless.
Legacy-wise, you know, I just gained such an appreciation for what CP3 brings when he was with us. You know, I honestly do think that he's a top 5 point guard of all time. Probably at a later episode, like in the off season or something, we'll go over like things like that. But yeah, he just gives so much to the game. He has skills, obviously, and he can give you, you know, a 30-point triple-double. He really can, but he knows what he needs to do.
Yeah.
And honestly, his contract, you know, people thought he would just fall off a cliff. You know, obviously he's under 6 foot point guard, getting up there in age, but he really is worth it because what he brings to your team, he just revived, you know, a franchise there. And you know, that's great to see. And the year he gave us will probably be more valuable than any draft pick, because I think every time I watch Shea dominate right now, I see things that he definitely got from CP3, and he could have really just changed his whole potential. You know, several players on our team, so he leaves, you know, a lasting presence on a team.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say that as well. Like, even this year, a lot of your roster this year, the Oklahoma's roster is G League and first year players, and you're over exceeding your expectations even this year. And that's probably remnants from what Chris Paul left with the organization, left those bits of knowledge and wisdom with players that were there. And I guess people like Shea might be you know, transferring on that wisdom to the younger guys that you've got there. Another player I wanted to talk about that's been vital to the Suns' success is
Jay Crowder.
I was actually going to go Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, I wanted to, because I was just talking about the acquisitions that they got. I have a whole thing dedicated to Bridges, but yeah, I just do want to squeeze in.
Let's go with Jay Crowder. Let's go with Jay Crowder.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say. Obviously, it just adds to what they were able to do this offseason. James Jones seeked out and saw what this team could need, and that's clearly been, you know, his value to the Heat has been seen this course, because how poor they were playing. But yeah, he's another player that definitely fits that and will show his value even more when they get to the playoffs. But yeah, let's move on to Bridges though.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges is a third year coming into his third season as a Phoenix Sun. In that stacked draft class of obviously Luka Doncic and Trae Young. But he's gone under the radar so far. Obviously, when a young player is on a bad team, not putting up amazing stats, they usually never get the coverage that they might deserve. And this season, Mikal Bridges, I still don't think he's getting the coverage he deserves. Averaging a career high in points. He's really, really upped his offensive game in terms of shooting percentages and efficiency. But
43% from three.
Yeah, probably his most important aspect for this Suns team is on the defensive end. He's got a really long wingspan, and he uses every inch of that to, you know, really help the Suns on defense every possession. Josh, what have you liked about Mikal Bridges' like kind of transformation and helping to win the basketball?
He was projected as a 3-and-D player coming out of the draft. I felt so bad for him, and I was confused. when the Sixers drafted him and then traded him for Zaire Smith, because that's definitely a player they could have used. And also he has such he has a crazy connection with the Sixers, and they were promoting that as well because he played for Villanova, who's based and then also his mum works for the organization as well,
and he's
then they
from
quickly
Philly as well.
Yeah, and then they quickly traded him from Zaire Smith, who sat out the whole rookie season with what was it, a nut allergy? Some sort of
I have no idea.
But yeah, it's clear they lost. No, I don't think it was a nut allergy, but I think it was some sort of allergy and then an injury as well. But like, he is what he was expected to be. And he's absolutely balling out. His shooting, his defense has been, tremendous. He's a winning player. That's why having CP3 to help him with his confidence has been big. CP3 took, not just Shea, but players like Darius Baisley, Ludo out under his wing, and it helped them, be more confident on the offensive end. And that's definitely worn off on Mikal Bridges. And then also, as you said, having a player like Jay Crowder, who's of that mold, to kind of give him the little tips of, a veteran. And Mikal Bridges just plays like a veteran. And that's big to have a third-year player who can already contribute to winning. It's huge for them. And those are the type of underrated parts of the team that will really show in the playoffs.
Yeah, those type of players are definitely vital. I think if you look at pretty much every championship team over the past 10 years, they've had a player of that mold. I think those players are really complemented by players like Chris Paul. 3-and-D guys are really complemented by having great playmakers on their team, because those guys aren't going to create their own shot. But as they get more and more reps in with their playmaker, you saw this on those Golden State Warriors teams with Draymond Green being that playmaker for Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's never going to create his own shot, but Draymond Green is always going to find him open. And I think Chris Paul is doing a great job of that with Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges, and that's why they've had an uptick in their efficiency this year. Yeah. So the Suns are on a roll right now, man. Obviously, a big question will be asked of them in the playoffs.
This is without notice. We never mentioned DeAndre Ayton, who hasn't even played up to his full potential yet on his team, and I think it's everything with him is just mental, and that gives me confidence because I really do believe that Chris Paul will get that out of him.
But I think also DeAndre Ayton is playing a role. He's not maybe playing the role he expected to play as was touted on his draft class and his scouting reports, but he's playing a different role that is contributing to winning. So that's what you can really ask from him. Obviously, it's not to his full potential. Maybe he expected.
I just feel like when he does get his touches, he's not as
aggressive,
physically dominant or as aggressive as he needs to be.
I see that as well. But and it would definitely give the Suns a different option. But yeah, he is young, as you said. But let's move away from the Suns. They're obviously, really, really big positive in the league right now. A big question will be asked of them in the playoffs. But let's move to a really big negative. The Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets.
Houston, man.
That James Harden.
Forget the Rockets, man. Houston are down bad.
Yeah.
And everywhere. But we're a basketball podcast, but man, Houston fans, I feel for you, man. You got the Texas Storms right now, and then you can't even take your mind off it with sports because you've lost every star player in every sport. You still got Deshaun Watson to go. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, with the Rockets, man, like 12 straight losses.
Wow. And the thing is, right, midway through like January, they were looking really solid, the Rockets. They were like, we were thinking they were going to creep in at 8. And
you know how
Christian Wood goes down.
They had that first place defensive efficiency, when they lost Harden.
Yeah,
that's now turned into 17th.
Wow.
25th in points per game, 25th in rebounds per game, 28th in assists per game.
Wow.
We have their pick swap. And at first, when they were hovering around, 10th to 12th, I was like, all right, yes, we're gonna get a lottery pick from the Rockets. And then now they're so bad because the pick is top 4 protected. So now they're getting a bit too bad.
Yeah. You want them to be a
I'm
little
getting
bit
kind of
better.
scared.
Yeah.
We need them to be a little bit better. But the problem is they're not even tanking.
Exactly.
And they're that bad.
They made that trade for James Harden to acquire Oladipo. It seemed like to stay relevant in the West and try. It looked like they were trying to still make the playoffs in the early season, but then as soon as Christian Wood has gone down, it's all been mayhem for them. Victor Oladipo has turned down that 2-year extension from the Rockets, so he doesn't look like he's going to be part of their long-term plans. John Wall has been very hit and miss.
And he's constantly injured along with Eric Gordon.
Yep. They gave up on Boogie already as well. So this roster has a completely different look to what it did just at the start of the season. It feels like the players, some of the vets on the team like PJ Tucker have expressed that they kind of want out of that situation.
He wanted out when Harden was still there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be a package deal.
Yeah, so it feels like a lot of the players on the roster right now are not bought into what the Rockets have going on, and it's probably because they don't know what the Rockets have going on. I mean, that trade was very confusing for someone for just NBA fans like us. So God knows what
I said it on the
day.
I said it on the day. It did not make sense to me. I mean,
why did they not keep Karis LeVert?
No, forget Karis LeVert. They could have. They didn't even need to make this a 3-4 team trade. Yeah. Why didn't they just keep both Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen? Because Christian Wood can play the 4. I think he's built towards where he can play the 4. So it's just so perplexing to me.
Yeah. So you see someone like Karis LeVert, not Karis LeVert, Jarrett Allen, who's been really, really good on the Cavs ever since he's moved into that starter role. And then you look at the Rockets who are releasing Boogie. And don't have that big man with Christian Wood out. It looks like a real shocker.
Why would you chase? No team should chase the middle of nowhere, that no man's land. Like
that's the worst place you can be in the NBA.
Listen, when you trade James Harden, okay. Well, firstly, I mean, if they traded him properly, like precedent was there for. I mean, I said this on the day, like the Bucks. The Pelicans got more for Drew Holiday than the Rockets got for James Harden.
Yeah.
And if you see these recent trades, the original Westbrook trade, the Paul George trade, Anthony Davis trade, that Drew Holiday trade, there's so much there that there's normally, you're getting your four first rounders and you're getting a couple, young players in the future. And they just did not take advantage of that at all. They're too committed to trying to be relevant.
Yeah.
Where they should have just, they got lucky there. I think they took Christian Wood as a luxury.
Low risk, high reward.
Low risk, high reward there. But now they have that. They don't have draft picks for the future because OKC, we have all of them. So why not just go into that, get those. You had a chance to get 2 players that complement your best player.
I think
why are you committed to Wall and Boogie?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think their first mistake was signing John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins because that kind of muddles everything up. It's like you've got the outworks of a young core. You still got James Harden on the team, so you can be somewhat successful. But then you add 2 guys who are clearly past their best on quite big contracts to the team. It just muddles up their whole timeline because. Rockets fans are probably asking themselves, okay, what's the plan now? You got aging John Wall, aging DeMarcus Cousins, who are very injury prone. Then you're acquiring Victor Oladipo, who's a similar story, very injury prone, past his best. What's the plan here? And has a team ever? James Harden is a top 5 player of this generation, no doubt, 2-time MVP in that span. Has a team ever got as little for a player of that caliber as the Rockets did?
Oh my goodness. They were trying to be too smart. They were trying to be too smart. They were doing too much.
Literally too much.
I don't understand. You get offered LeVert and Vic. It doesn't make any sense to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Very confusing.
That's where I think the John Wall trade harmed them the most. I think because.
And this is why they wanted out, and this is why Harden and Westbrook wanted out in the first place. Because you look at them letting go of Daryl Morey. I mean, he wanted out, but I'm pretty sure if they, they wanted to get rid of Daryl Morey, get rid of
D'Antoni.
D'Antoni, and Westbrook and Harden could both see that this front office is not going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that trade isn't looking great. The Westbrook Harden Wall trade, I can't really fault them for because Westbrook wanted out.
Yeah.
The most you could do is because Harden hadn't officially asked out yet, so the most you can possibly do is try and maximize what you can get for that. And they got a pick as well, so I can't call it a complete loss because having Russ right now, who doesn't want to be there, wouldn't have been much better. But yeah, it's just looking they're on their way to nowhere fast.
Raphael Stone, who stepped up as the general manager for the Rockets, I think he was Daryl Morey's assistant for 14 years. And Daryl Morey always had this glowing reputation as one of the league's best GMs.
No, but I feel bad
for Raphael Stone clearly didn't learn a damn thing.
I can't even hold him. I feel like him and Coach Silas. I feel the worst for Coach Silas because he's been putting in his due for I think it was 20 seasons in some sort of coaching capacity, and this is the first job he gets handed with 2 stars that want out, a player coming off a 2-year injury. So yeah, they've been put in impossible situations. They've got an owner that's cost cutting. As I said, as much as they hate on Dolan back in the day, at least even if he tries to be overpowering, he never cut costs. They've got
Well, Raphael Stone could have made this situation so much easier for Silas. If he acquires those 2 young players.
That was a miss.
If he acquires those 2 young players, it's telling Coach Silas, this is the direction we're going in now. We're going to be bad for a while, but we want you to be at the helm of this young team. You're quite an inexperienced coach. You learn with these young players and try to get us back to where we were with these young.
That's the point, though. He might be the most experienced first-year coach of all time. He's done his dues, and he was behind that all-time great Dallas Mavericks offense last year. So yeah, he was just given a rough deal with. Yeah, that trade was definitely a miss. I don't know, because even to be honest, even if they got those 2 players, in Levert and Allen, I still thought that was less than you could have got for Harden.
Yeah.
I think if Spencer Dinwiddie was still healthy, they probably would have thrown in him as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they just got, and a trade like that, when you trade away your franchise player, that's supposed to be setting you up for the next 10 years. That trade is supposed to put you in a position where what direction you're going in, and they've not. That's not where they are now. Because after we traded Westbrook and Paul George, we knew where we were going after.
Exactly. I was going to say the exact same thing. The value you guys got for those 2 players, it put you guys in this position where you've got all these draft picks and you know a clear direction and pathway you're going. The upside of this Oklahoma City team in the next 10 years could be high.
We didn't even have I feel lucky because we didn't even have a year of no direction.
Yeah. Well, you got year tanking this year, but
I mean no direction. We know we have Shea already, you know what I mean? It's not like we have a year where we're tanking with some trash players. We already have our player that we're building around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's looking rough for them, and they don't even have their draft picks. So yeah, it's looking bad for them. 2020 is gonna be rough
in Houston for sure. Looking real rough for the Houston Rockets right now. I think them and the Timberwolves are by far the teams probably have the bleakest future.
At least the Timberwolves have Karl Anthony Towns for now.
Yeah, boy. Sorry, Rockets fans. Sorry about that, but let's move on from the next.
We put up a hotline for Houston fans.
I did just want to say, see how you mentioned the Mavs' historic offense last season. I did see a stat. 5 teams have surpassed
above that
the offensive rating of that Mavs team last year. This year, that is insane. The Nets, the Jazz, the Bucks, the Clippers, and the Nuggets. That's insane. But anyway, let's let's move
And
away.
the Nuggets is almost completely behind Jokic because
Yeah.
they were already at that point before the other players started to turn it up again.
Right.
Yeah, it's mad.
Jokic he's just an enigma. He's an enigma.
You know, isn't it great to see this MVP race this season is going to come down to two centers.
Yeah, two centers who are dominating the game, and in a
You
way,
could not tell anyone that in 2015.
and it's in a way two centers have never dominated the game of basketball before as well, which is really interesting to me. So that's great for the game as well. And hopefully that breeds a new age of big man that can, because the age of the big man was kind of almost coming to an end. Like with the Rockets small ball lineup, we thought that was the end of the big man.
I mean, that year when DeAndre Jordan was first team, that was rough. That was rough for the center position, man.
Yeah, even Joakim Noah was
we talked about
fourth
he was
place
getting
MVP voting. Yeah.
Well, that's different. I mean, like they had to. I think we just talked about CP3's legacy. Yeah, I think the biggest thing in his legacy, above OKC, above now, he got DeAndre Jordan to be first team All NBA.
Yeah, to be fair, when Joakim Noah did it, it was a season where D Rose was out for the year. Jimmy Butler was only in his first season, so he.
Yeah, I don't think that's not an example of this.
No, I'm just saying
that is him legit being. Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually very good that year, but yes, it's a completely different type of big man these days now, 100%. And you know, just watching Jokic, I was watching him against my Bulls the other night. Dropped a cool 39 on us. It feels like if you're above 6'8", you're gonna score a lot of points against the Bulls. I mean, Wendell Carter.
Nah, I think
he's a decent defender, but
he's not a good. He doesn't
have the size,
defender.
really. Yeah, he doesn't have the size.
Yeah, he's not an on-ball defender, but as a team defender, he's great.
Yeah. But he doesn't have the size to like go against someone in the post. Like I think even Joel Embiid dropped 50 on us. So those type of matchups are like really his kryptonite.
Was it Jokic he had a 38-point triple-double in a blowout yesterday. In a blowout.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
What?
It's when you watch Jokic, like he moves at his own pace all the time. Like you can't speed up Jokic ever. He moves.
Skinny Jokic is catching bodies now.
Yeah. What the hell? What's going on?
Hey, he gave Patrick Williams welcome to the league moment right there, didn't he?
let's not talk about that. I think Patrick Williams has had more than what's the word?
Yeah, he gets welcome to the
fair share of his welcome to the league moments.
Yeah, he just keeps getting welcome to the league. But they like him, don't they?
To be fair, Billy Donovan is always throwing him in at the deep end, saying you're guarding the best players tonight. And I'm sure Patrick Williams kind of wants that. Like he's been saying in his press conference that he kind of likes those matchups, but give him a night off once. Like
let's not turn him into Aaron Baines, man.
Yeah, he's 19. Give the kid a break. Like just put him on like Patrick Beverley or something one night. Don't put him on Kawhi. But anyway, let's move away from that. We got to talk about the Spurs, Josh, as well, man.
We gotta give love to the Spurs, man. We don't do it. We haven't done it, man.
Yeah, they're a team that always flies under the radar for some reason.
I wanted to, man. You know what? I've got a high respect for DeMar DeRozan now. You know, I underrated him for years, man.
Yeah, because you know when he was traded to the Spurs, there was always those rumors of DeMar DeRozan wasn't going to stick around for long. He wasn't really invested in the Spurs. And we also thought the Spurs were going to be a team that were kind of in that no man's land of uncertainty, like trying to flirt with the playoffs, but also not quite getting there. But it just goes to show you behind Coach Popovich, you know, he could probably take a team of G Leaguers to the
He is the GOAT, man. He had this first season in 20 or 22 years of not making the playoffs, and he was like, I bet. And he was still in the play-in, so you know, he was still in the bubble. Yeah. But you know, that we talk I mean, we could call this whole episode about culture and front office culture, but that's the benchmark right there. You know, the San Antonio Spurs, they always buying gems. I was searching this up, you know, their young core of DeJounte Murray, Derek White, and Keldon Johnson, all three of them were 29th picks.
Wow.
Yeah, in the 2016, 2017, and 2019 draft.
Wow.
Yeah, all of them 29th picks. and they don't.
I mean,
miss.
if you got any type of chip on your shoulder, you should go and sign with the Spurs because you'll get turned into a monster there. Even like someone like Jakopo, who looked like he was going to be out of the league, is having a resurgence this season. And then, as you said, DeMar DeRozan is probably a snub from the All-Star team that isn't getting talked enough. The Spurs are sitting at fifth in the West, and
I had him as an All-Star.
Yeah.
Well, I might not have actually, but I wanted to. I think no, I had him as a honorable mention because he was out for like a week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he, his playmaking this season.
Playmaking, I was gonna say that's probably his most valuable asset.
7 assists a game.
Yeah.
7 assists a game. Yeah, he's been tremendous, man.
Yeah, a lot of people.
It took a while, but he's now seamlessly fit. Yeah, he's now fit into that Spurs culture, and they might look to. A couple of years ago, I did start to see rumors about and maybe the pandemic changed the whole mindset, but it looked like Coach Pop was setting himself up to retire after the 2020 Olympics.
Yeah.
And now he looks like he's just got a new burst to him. And he looks like he's ready to keep going for a couple more years because they're in a good position. They've got a young core, they've got DeRozan. I think the only down really is LaMarcus Aldridge.
I was literally gonna say that. Like, what the only question mark this team has is what do they do with LaMarcus Aldridge? As when he came back from his injury, the first time in his career he'd come off the bench, which I think tells you everything. That he's on. They might,
to be honest, they might just look to. I don't know. I think
they're
at a point now. But I mean, do you think they'll just move towards the youth? Because I guess they can afford to keep DeRozan and still develop the youth players as well.
Yeah,
I think they just have that culture where they'll never tank. The Spurs will never tank. The Spurs will never tank.
It's not in their dictionary, is it?
To be fair, they are 1 for 1 in tanking. They tanked one time and got they tanked one time and got Tim Duncan. So that's not bad. Getting a top 10 player, getting a top 10 player of all time out of tanking, it's not too bad. But DeJounte Murray, 16, 7, and 5. He's stepping up.
Well, he's kind of building off what he's always been. DeJounte Murray. He's always been a very steady.
Yeah.
Steady player, but he feels like he gets.
And they've got two-way players everywhere. Everywhere you look on that roster, they got two-way players.
Yeah, Spurs, as you said, with the culture, like, if you're gonna play for Greg Popovich, you're gonna go out every night thinking that you're the better team. You're gonna go out every night, knowing that you can't take a rest, you can't take a breather on any possession. I think that's what has made Greg Popovich such an elite coach and maybe the greatest of all time. Probably is.
I think he is the greatest of all time.
It's between him and Phil Jackson, isn't it?
I just feel like
I think Phil Jackson's last years on the Knicks probably hurt his reputation a lot.
Yeah, but he wasn't a coach, so I won't even count that. Yeah. But I just think with what Coach Pop has had at his disposal. But just going back to DeRozan for 1 second with his playmaking. Not only is he averaging 7 assists, it's 7.2 assists to 1.7 turnovers, which is absolutely insane for a player that wasn't known for his playmaking to just flip that switch and go to one of the best playmakers in the league with minimal turnovers. Is insane. But they're always under the.
We've seen that a lot more frequently where like players, like star players, are as they get older. It seems like it's almost a maturation process when they develop a more playmaking side of their game.
But
they understand it's not all just hearable. It's more of a team effort.
Mm-hmm. But I've seen a lot of players that weren't naturally playmakers. Become playmakers.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
That assist to turnover ratio is
elite.
That's the part that's mad for me because normally you only see that out of those players that are kind of that it just comes naturally to them.
Yeah, that's the sign of a really great playmaker, isn't it? That ratio.
Yeah. But they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're 5th in the West, despite before coming into the season, most publications had them predicted as 13th in the West.
Wow.
And they're 5th. So, I mean, it's really just been the trend. It's been the trend every year. Stop doubting the Spurs. Stop doubting the Spurs.
Yeah, stop doubting.
I think they got carried away after they were right one time last year.
I think even we're probably guilty of that as well, down the Spurs. I think
Yeah.
if you asked us at the start of the season, we wouldn't have had them making the playoffs probably. So yeah, that teaches us the lesson as well. Don't doubt the Spurs. As long as Greg Popovich is coach, you're probably going to win. But I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you everyone for joining us for another episode. We're really enjoying doing these now, so that's why we're pumping out 2 a week. We'll be back with some more special episodes next week. We'll have a guest on in the near future as well, so look out for that. But thank you, Josh, for joining me, and thank you everyone for listening. We're out. Peace.
Let's go.